Welcome back to my channel, and for those new here, please do hit that subscribe button. That being said, and out of the way, I thought I would bring you my long requested video review of The Haunting of Hill House. This is, of course, the Netflix series that has caught the imagination of many across the world, seemingly dropped out of nowhere in time for Halloween. It features a robust cast of fantastic actors, each pulling their weight and doing a tremendous job. I'll touch on some light spoilers throughout this review, so if you are worried about knowing too much, please do click off. That being said, I can highly recommend this series. It's genuinely a great story spread across 10 episodes. It's by no means anything majorly original in terms of the story it's telling, but it's telling it in a somewhat original way, which gives a refreshing take on the haunted house story. So, where to start? Well, the story itself centers around multiple people, all members of a family, that lived and grew up in a house, but only partly grew up there. Their family flips houses, the mother is an architect, the father is a builder of sorts. They go from place to place, buying rundown houses and flipping them. So they were only at this particular house, Hill House, for a short while, but it's deeply affected them all in major ways. The mother is dead. We don't know why or how until the very end, but she is dead. Something happened one night where the father had to snatch up all of the children and run away into the night, leaving the mother behind. Moving forwards in time, the children are grown up and they each have individual issues that they're dealing with. A heightened sense of empathy, depression, night terrors, drug addiction, denial, and various other bits and pieces. None of them speak to their father anymore, or at least what we know of, due to the suspicious circumstances of their mother's death. But little by little, throughout the episodes, we start to learn that not all is as it seems, until the finale. This series has such a strong pace throughout that I essentially shotgunned it all across the span of 3 days. There is a winding story that jumps backwards and forwards in time, which is a nice way to set the scene and fill in the gaps you will inevitably have as you're watching it. But it isn't perfect. Some of the scene transitions between the past and the future were a little jarring. They weren't really announced in the previous scene or signalled, so a straight cutaway to a different time period from nowhere did hit you at times. This series does a great job of making you think certain things, but also making you doubt yourself. With respect to the children, some of them have powers, I guess, so there is a supernatural element at play here. One of them can touch people and instantly know feelings, thoughts, see the world through their eyes. At first, it kind of came out of nowhere, and I was quite surprised that the series added this element into it, but later on in the series, the woman with the same powers stated something interesting about a girl that compartmentalized her trauma, and so it became this thing. She firmly believed that there was an entity known as Mr. Smiley. This then led me to question whether this was the writers signaling to us, the audience, that this is what the characters had done. They had experienced great trauma in their childhood, and have they then compartmentalized it to then believe they are seeing things, believe that they have powers, etc. But no. The first and the very obvious superpower was actually the answer. I didn't mind this though, because I enjoyed the fact that the show made me question what I had previously thought. I also thought it was interesting that the show put these little bits and pieces through the story to make you doubt yourself. The show also does a fantastic job of not only juggling timelines, but each episode is essentially telling the story from one character's perspective across the span of a few days. So each episode you see things that you have seen before, but from a different perspective. It also fills in the gaps that you had in the previous episode, because some of the actions that these characters take do leave you going, what, why? But then the very next episode we learn why. The show rewards you with your patience, essentially, which I really did appreciate. Now I have to comment on the one takes, or the long takes, however you want to call it. They are absolutely superb in this series. It's comprised almost entirely of long takes, which for the actors is exceptionally hard work. They really earned their paychecks on this show. From a technical perspective, it's incredibly hard and incredibly time consuming. There is one episode close to the end where the family is at a funeral. You'll know it if you've seen it. And they have orchestrated the most fantastic long take I have seen in years. They have everyone set up perfectly, from characters appearing, disappearing, changing from old to young, moving in place, etc. And they managed it due to the scene being set up so intelligently, but not broadcast. They are in a rectangular room, all doors are open, but they don't broadcast this detail, and you have to actually look out for it, which then, of course, acts as the entry point and exit point for the switcheroos going on in this scene, but also the entry point and exit point for the cameramen to, of course, film these long takes. It is so smart, so refreshing, and really a testament to the filmmakers behind this series. The ghost element in this series needs to be mentioned, as it is a horror show. Again, nothing new with the use of ghosts in a ghost story, but what was really smartly done was the designs of the ghosts. There is one walks with a cane, you'll know it when you see it, which was really nicely designed. It is an edge of your seat fear, but there is an unsettling vibe to the show, and it's something which I definitely appreciated. Now, I know I've gushed over this series, but it's not without fault, and unfortunately I feel its major fault is actually down to its major strong point. It had such a great story. I really don't think they knew how they wanted to end it. It didn't end, for me anyway, on a strong point. The series slowed down at the end and they changed the tone drastically. The last episode especially is very slow, because up until that point it had been a relatively horror-based show. They then took a change of tone to try and end on a positive and happy note, which for me, personally, I didn't really think it gelled that well with what they had previously been setting up. But let me clarify, I really liked the reveal of the bent-necked lady. I thought that was absolutely fantastic. What I didn't like was the fact that the father had been talking to himself all along. He wasn't actually seeing the mother's spirit, his wife's spirit, which to me contradicted something they had previously set up, where the daughter that killed herself saw her mother standing beside her father on her wedding day. I think it was something that they should have went with, because now he simply comes across as a bit crazy, which is a shame. The ending also, to me anyway, seemed to double back on what they were saying throughout the episodes up until that point. Anytime the mother's actions were questioned, they would say it wasn't her on that night, it was something else. Nope, it was her. She had just gone mental from the house and the ghosts and killed herself. Which, yeah, okay, I can buy that, I guess, but what I didn't like was how the daughter then killed herself, then the father killed herself, and they all live happily ever after as ghosts? Why? When up until that point they had been saying the house feeds on people. Why would you be so happy to then live in it? Why are you happy and nice and some of the other ghosts are evil? Why, when the house was framed as this evil thing up until that point, did they then feel the need to end on a light and airy note of even the couple who had helped look after the house for years, they're making a goddamn pilgrimage to die there, just so they could come back as ghosts and be a family again. Because of the last two episodes' incredibly slow pace, I knew they were going to change the tone. So it's not jarring, but it is just a shame. I think they should have embraced the horror side of it just a bit more. But all in all, it is very much worth a watch. I don't think, even with that ending, that you guys will regret the time invested. And by now, you probably have already watched it. Also, did you guys notice the moving statue? If not, go back and watch. There was a little Easter egg run throughout every episode of a moving statue. I know I've taken a really long time to review this, but personally this was a series that I wanted to sit on and take my time writing a review and really conveying my thoughts across in a concise and hopefully easy to digest manner. Guys, I really want to hear your thoughts though on this. Have you seen it? If you have, what did you think? Let me know down below in the comments section. If you haven't seen it, I really do encourage you guys to watch it. Please do. It's on Netflix. It's for free, obviously, because Netflix. It's 10 episodes and it really is worth a watch. Guys, it's been an absolute pleasure. If you enjoyed this review, please do give it a like and a share because that really helps me out. If you've enjoyed the content I've been producing recently, please do consider supporting the channel on Patreon. You can find that in the description box below. As of course, YouTube is consistently changing the monetization features. If you haven't been notified of all the content I have been uploading recently, please do click that bell icon and then also click the drop down menu to be notified all times. Guys, as I said, been an absolute pleasure. I've been Mr. H and I'll catch you in the next video.